Well, thank you all for coming. It's lovely to see you all on this beautiful day. My name's Nicole Christina, and I have to just tell you from the get-go that I love doing these presentations. This is one of my favorite things to do, and I do them often, and so this sort of feels like it's my sweet spot, and so I just wanted to start with that. I'm a therapist in town, and I have my own practice, and I feel like I don't have any pockets, and so I have to hold this, and hope I don't drop it. And I've been working with people for about 20 years on, I started with eating disorders, and now I do sort of the general practice, and I still specialize in helping people with eating, food, and body acceptance, because there's a lot of us that in the world, and sometimes what I say is if you're a woman and you live on planet Earth, you probably have some conflicts with food. That's just the water we swim in, and that's the culture we live in. So I found that a lot of, particularly women, I do see men too, but particularly women really resonate with this question of how do I feel comfortable in my body, and how do I live with this angst of not knowing what to eat, because every 6 months it's a different message. I don't know if folks are old enough to, I think I'm dating myself here, but do you remember the old Mary Tyler Moore show when she was wheeling her cart and she picks up something, I think it's chicken or something, she looks at it, she sort of shrugs, and then she just throws it in the cart. And that's what I see a lot of people doing now, because there's so many confusing messages about what we should eat. I don't know if people are familiar with paleo diet, so that's sort of the caveman diet, and then you hear things from the China study and other people saying you should really cut down on animal products. Okay, so we got paleo and we got cut down, we got vegan, we got no dairy. We're all confused. And even those of us who are in this business are confused. So I'm here to try to simplify some of those messages and hopefully send you out of here feeling a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more at peace with your relationship with your body and food. It's a tall order, but we're just going to start on that process. And the way I talk about this and I think about this is challenging the food police. Because what happens is many of us, we don't even realize it anymore, spend a lot of time worrying about what we ate, what we should eat, what we're going to eat, what we ate yesterday, and it uses a lot of energy. And in my mind, that's energy that could be used much more effectively. We got a lot of problems in the world to solve. And if we're just worried about if we had a donut for breakfast, we can't use our good energy and woman's wisdom to address some of those problems. So that's kind of what I feel like my mission is to help particularly women feel more comfortable and feel less stressed out about all of this food diet stuff, so that we can use our smarts and our talents in much more productive ways. In my opinion, the world really needs our talents more so than ever before. So that's kind of like my mission statement. So as I said, I'm a clinician, but I also do a lot of wellness work, and I started a project called Breathe, Taste, Savor, and there's a lot of mindful eating that goes along with that, and I started writing a newsletter, and I just did a retreat for a doctor's office out at Turning Stone because their staff is so stressed out, and so those are the kinds of things I do, mostly women, mostly dealing with relationship with body and food. Okay, so what I'd like to do in general is challenge the diet mentality that I think most of us have of being worried, obsessing, and restricting even to just a more comfortable place and a place more of self-trust. I don't have a whiteboard here, but when I do this with the FU dietitian, we have a series we run I write across the whiteboard, you are the expert of yourself. Okay? That's a pretty different orientation than what does Dr. Oz say? What does Andy Weil say? Weil, I don't know how to pronounce it. You know, what does this one say? What does this one say? What does Mr. Paleo say? I want to make a strong statement for you're the expert on knowing what your body's asking for and what makes it most happy. Does that make sense? This is a different orientation. So what I'd like to just start with, if it's okay, I think people who come to Natur-Tyme are more open to some of these kind of things than others. I'd like to just start with a little relaxation because what I've found in my life, and I don't know if people would agree with this, but people are so stressed out right now that I am finding, I told you I've done this for 20 years, people are more and more not even remembering when their appointments are because they're so overwhelmed. I can't tell you how many emails and texts I get about, was it Tuesday, was it Wednesday? These are all professional, bright people. These are not teenagers, you know, who we can say, all right, you're doing that teenage thing. And these are people who are really well organized. And I have found over the years more and more people are just like, it doesn't matter if you have kids or, you know, they're just like, I got to make some food, I got to do some kind of wash, I got to get ready for work, I got to, you know, we're always feeling like we're kind of putting out fires. So let's just start with a really basic stress reducer. And I just found out that the Navy SEALs now do this, which is pretty wild, right? Apparently it helps them, excuse me, in their work. And folks may have already done this, but I like simple. I'm really into like what's practical. Tell me what I can do in the car, between clients. I don't want to have to get on any special clothing or go to a special place. I want to be able to do this in the supermarket if I need to. So we're just going to do a really basic breathing. And what I'd like you to do just to start is you can even put your hands behind your back. And what this does is it opens up these nice intercostal muscles. People may already be very familiar. And I just like you to take 4 breaths in, 4 breaths out. See if you can breathe into your belly. Just nice and slow for a cycle of 4 times. So we've got 1 in, 1 out. Just nice and easy, and see if you can even feel your body just kind of relaxing and loosening up. You may notice that your shoulders are a little softer. Nice and simple. You can do this anywhere. Okay, just 4 rounds. 4 in, 4 out, 4 rounds. That's good. Okay, you did it. People noticing a little bit better comfort level? A little bit. Good. Okay, and so, you know, when you're in line at the bank or you're, this is my pet peeve, you know, you go to the ATM and some people haven't even started preparing their deposit, and you're in a little bit of a hurry, and you see them looking for a pen, and they're looking for their checks. And, you know, mine's already, you know, of course, type A. It's been filled out, and you're sitting there, and you're kind of running late. So this is the perfect kind of time to just do the Navy SEAL, okay? Just bringing it down, okay? So what is so great about being relaxed? Why do we care? Why do we want to be doing this breathing stuff? So let me give you a hint. You may already have your good ideas about this. So Google, Target, Procter & Gamble, Nike, they all now have this training for their employees. Why would they do that? Training. They have opportunities for their employees to do some relaxation, deep breathing. The new wave in Fortune 500 companies is having their employees more relaxed. Why do they care? Because there's a direct correlation between being relaxed and performance. You got it. You got it. And how they treat each other. And if you're a Fortune 500 company, you don't want to be paying out insurance premiums, right? People who are more relaxed use less of the insurance. Their benefit, they're less sick, their digestion's better, their immunity's better. And so these companies, while they may be altruistic, I'm not here to say otherwise, they're all about the bottom line, okay? So that's a really good piece of evidence that relaxation makes a difference, a profound difference in the way we are in the world, okay? So let me just circle back to, this idea of when we're uptight, when we're reactive. I gave this example to the undergrads, and some of you may think it's relevant, some of you won't, because it's for sort of the younger set. But I said, when you go on Facebook and you see your ex with somebody else, that feeling, and they were all like this. When you're doing some relaxation, when you're more comfortable in your body, you're less likely to react. And that's a good thing, because sometimes when we react emotionally without being more mindful, it gets us into a lot of trouble, as I'm sure we can all attest, and we've all probably done that. So what I would like to wonder about with folks now is, do we even have an awareness of how much this stress around food affects us? Do we have an awareness of how much sort of headspace we give to food, our bodies, and our worries? Do people have a sense of that? Like, how much time do I worry about how many vegetables did I get in? Or, oh my gosh, I went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning. Or, we're having spaghetti tonight. That's a white starch. Do we have a sense of that? I would say we are so used to worrying, we don't even think about it anymore. So what I'd like to do is I made up this very informal questionnaire, and this is for you, okay? It's not going to be graded. Let me just get you. Just fill it out, and just for curiosity, I've got some pens for you. Just see what resonates with you. Do people have pens? Oh, yeah. You have to fill out, too. People need pens? Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. You can be totally honest, because I'm never going to see these, and you can shred them when you get home. This is just for your information. So let me check in with people now. Any reactions, surprises, pretty much what you thought? Oh, is that right? Sometimes. Okay. All right, that's fine. This is really, as I said, it's for you. Okay? Anyone learn anything about themselves or uh-huh. I see. You don't have enough. Yeah. More acceptance because you don't have a choice, in a sense. Yeah, yeah. Does this resonate with people, or do people look at this and say, this is not, I don't even know what this woman's talking about. This is not something that makes sense to me. Is this foreign? It resonates a lot.
Yeah, I get mad at myself getting mental health. I don't mean mental health coach, but that kind of bullshit because you feel, why did I do this? It's very moment and inspiration. Why did I do this?
That's right.
And I find myself when I jump in the morning, I just love getting counseling because that just made me feel better. Like I get in the morning and it's just weird. First thing I like depressing, I know that other people, I think about it a lot, but I like to lose some weight. I never gained weight. Yeah, I feel like that's I've never had eating disorders, but the relationship with food, and I love food.
You and all of mankind, because that's an evolution thing. Yeah, right. The answer to your question, in my experience, is the majority of women have some conflict with food. And the diet industry is a $7 billion a year industry with a B. And if it worked, we wouldn't have to keep doing it over and over and failing at it. I often say if you went to your doctor and they said, okay, you have a problem, but I'm going to give you a treatment, it's 95% failure rate. 5% do okay. You would say, what? Right? And that's what dieting is. 95 to 98% failure. Isn't that funny? And the problem is that when we gain it back, it's not only that we get to where we were, we usually gain more. Some experts think that some of the obesity crisis that we're in right now is partly due to so much dieting, because we keep gaining and gaining, dieting, gaining. So, okay, anything else that anyone wants to say or add about the what I call the diet mentality? Powerful habit because it engages all of our senses. And it's legal, and it's cheap, and it is everywhere. I mean, you cannot pump gas now without having Doritos, $2 for $1, Oreos, the milk needs your Oreos. I mean, you can't get away from that. So David Kessler wrote a book called The End of Overeating, and he's the guy who started talking about sugar as an addictive substance. And he talks about we are fighting an uphill battle, that it really is, the odds are not in our favor because of some of the biological pieces to it. So, okay, well, what I wanted to point out about this little informal survey is that body discomfort for women is kind of normal, okay, sad to say. But can you imagine um, being at work or in your communities or at church or whatever you do, and you're talking to your women, and you say, I just started really feeling comfortable with my body. I really like it. I've been feeling kind of okay. I'm really feeling kind of grateful about what it can do for me. It's been with me for the long haul, and I'm just feeling great about it right now. I mean, they would look at you like, you were you were smoking something, right? I mean, that would be so bizarre. And what's really normal, and I don't know what happens with you folks, what's Thanksgiving dinner table like? I shouldn't. Oh, it's too big. Oh, just a little one. Oh, I want to be good. I already had potatoes. All of this about how fraught with conflict our relationship is, that we can't sit and say it's lovely to be, well, not all our relatives, right? It's not lovely to be with all of them, but we can't sit and just enjoy ourselves. We have to worry about whether we've eaten too much potatoes or we already had pie. Should we also have cookies? It's totally controlling our ability to feel comfortable and at ease. Okay? So I'd like to do, let's see. I'd like to do a little kind of guided imagery with you. And it really is about, is there anything else? Oh, I wanted to just, this is just for your consideration, just for you to think about it. And if you want to say something about it, that's fine. But I'd like you to just take a moment and imagine how life would feel different for you if you woke up and you didn't say, oh, I kind of got to lose some weight, or I'm not really feeling good about my body. I feel unattractive, unlovable, all of that stuff. How would life be different for you? Can you even imagine waking up and feeling at ease? And that not being your first, what should I have for breakfast? I had a big dinner last night. What should I have? What would be different? Does anyone have any thoughts about that? That you're bad. Well, it's a short distance between I ate something bad to I am bad, right? So you're kind of, yeah, you're like digging yourself into a hole. It's kind of hard to imagine being your full self when you feel like crap about yourself. The more westernized the culture, the more progressive, the more industrialized. We're exporting it. And I had a client who lived in Seoul, and she unfortunately had some real struggles with food. What I didn't know, some of you might know about South Korea, apparently that is the center for cosmetic surgery. And so you have teenagers routinely coming in for some kind of body augmentation, breasts, eyes, all of that stuff. So I think the answer to your question is unfortunately not. People want to be like Americans still, and the more we export our eating, and the more we, have McDonald's or all of these things in places that we're not using those or were not accessible, we're finding that things. And the rate of, Japan used to have a very low breast cancer rate, but now they want to eat more like us because it looks like progress. And now we find that the research is interesting. They'll do research when people live in Japan and then when they move here, and now their rates of those kind of illnesses are exactly the same. So I think the answer is it's getting worse. Yeah. So, back to the question of what would it be like? What would it be like to wake up and not think about, I can't eat too much fat, I can't eat a candy bar, I have to lose weight. And it makes me think that we wouldn't need things like Spanx, Diet Coke, clean cuisine, fat-free creamer. It would be a different world for many of us. So that's something to think about. So one of the ways that I like to sort of help people think about this and challenge some of this thinking and brainwashing is to really look at our bodies more for what they do rather than how they look. Instead of being an ornament, we want to think about the marvels of the human body. I mean, we think we're really great because we can make an iPhone 6. Have people seen the iPhone 6 yet? It's pretty tremendous. But imagine how, we think we're so enlightened. We can make these beautiful iPads and stuff. Try making a human digestive system. So the idea being, what can I do to acknowledge and be in true awe of this body? It's a shift in perspective. One of the things that sociologists used to talk about is when you have little boys, you talk about, you can run so fast, you're so strong, look at you go. And the girls are like, you're so pretty, and look at that curly hair, right? So we're trying to think about how we can be more, how women can be more in touch with, wow, look at me go. Look at me walk my dog or whatever. Look at me garden. Look at me do what my body can do. Even as it ages, look at these feet. Look what they can, they're walking upstairs, walking here, doing this, taking out the garbage. So I want to just I wrote a body appreciation, little guided imagery. I just want to, some people already do this, but I just want to introduce you to the idea of thinking about your body as this incredible piece of machinery that even the iPhone 6 can't compete with. So get as comfortable as you can, and if you can just turn off your electronic devices, that would be really appreciated. And so when you're home or in your car or whatever you're doing in your backyard or whatever, you can do this at any time. And what I would ask you to do, which makes it easier, is to remove as many distractions as you can, because we're already so distracted. So we would start out just finding a comfortable position, and you can either sit upright as you are now, you can lie down, not here perhaps, but just start by taking a few really easy deep breaths. I'm losing my setup here. And I'd like you to just start by, I always prefer putting my hands on my belly because it helps me know that I'm breathing into my abdomen. So why do we care about breathing into our abdomen? What's so great about that? Well, our abdomen, when it's expanded, pushes against the vagus nerve, which sends a message up to our brain that says you are totally safe right now and you can relax. So there's a physiological reason why breathing into your belly, and for those of you who have used Lamaze, might appreciate that, it really does put your body, your physiology, into a different state. So I just want you to notice, just start really simply. I'd like you to notice your belly moving up and down. You're bringing some nice air into your abdomen. You can feel your body start to relax. And you might even just look at this as a time to kind of bracket all of the busyness of your day. This is just some time for yourself, appreciating the chance to slow down. And you might even notice now that your neck and your shoulders are loosening. One place we hold a lot of tension is our jaws. So you might notice your jaws softening. And even around our eyes, without noticing it, sometimes we can sort of squinch up our eyes and see if you can kind of let that tension go. And so the goal here again is to help us move from body criticism and alienation and even disgust to a more gentle appreciation and acknowledge what our body does for us every day. So these exercises are quite simple, but they have an ability to be very powerful and effective when they're done regularly. Okay, so when we focus on the miraculous engineering that our bodies are rather than how they don't fit in an impossible ideal that is photoshopped, you're going to notice the stress response really lessening. And hating your body actually does cause stress. So let's just continue breathing easily. See if we can move from some of the destructive, negative self-talk. And let's start by focusing on our feet. How do they feel right now? You put all your attention on your feet, and when your mind wanders, you'll hear some noise in the environment. Just bring your attention back to your feet and just check in with them. Are they tired? Relaxed? Warm? Let's see now if you can appreciate all that your feet do for you in a given day. How we take them for granted. How they hold up our entire body. And even bring attention to your toes. Think about how small they are, but how important their job is. See if you can bring some appreciation and gratitude to your feet. I like to think of them as the unsung heroes of our bodies. They hold us up in so many different situations. Walking, shower, going upstairs, dancing, even driving. We could just send some acknowledgement and gratitude to our feet, just for a moment. Now slowly moving up to your calves. Bring your attention for a moment to your calves and your shins. And imagine the bones, the muscles, and the tendons going on inside the whole system and how they keep things all connected. How they're part of the structure that allows us to stand, to walk and to run, among other things. Like the grounding part of your body's whole architecture. So thanking your shins and calves. And now moving slowly up to your knees. These intricate joints, bending, absorbing shock, allowing us to be flexible, climb, walk, kneel. An engineering marvel. Thank you to your knees. Now I'd like you to take some more relaxing breaths because we're going to continue moving up, and some of the areas are more problematic for women than others. So just see if you can take some more relaxing breaths, and we're going to move up into the thighs. And this is a part of our body that for many people receives the brunt of our judgment and our hatred. This is the area we often want to make smaller, less soft. So just for a minute, I'd like you to consider the ways in which you might have rejected this part of yourself. And continuing to take some nice deep breaths. Noticing the major muscles that are so stabilizing. Appreciating the work and the function of the thighs, how they ground and stabilize us, how they're strong, how we use them to anchor our body. And see if you can just send a little bit of appreciation over to the thighs. As much as you can. Some people really get stuck and have difficulty because we're so used to hating on ourselves. So just do the best you can. And then we're going to move up into the hips and the buttocks, a major source of contempt for many women. How long have we wished that this area was different? And how would things feel for you if you accepted and even appreciated these parts? Breathing deeply, just seeing if you could bring a more neutral, even acceptance. Can you sense some appreciation for how they move, the work they do, even as we malign them, even as we look in the mirror and feel disgust? These hips work for us. Without appreciation, see if you can just accept these parts right now. And if you can sense some appreciation. Moving slowly up into the abdominal area, the midsection. This is another very common place of rejection for women. Continue breathing in, breathing out. So this is our core. This is our center. I wonder if we can think about for a minute what repercussions it might have to be sending so much dislike to our core. Reproductive, digestive, so much goes on in here, so complex, so amazing, and yet how cruel we can be. Sending acknowledgement and kindness to our middle part. Maybe saying thank you to our belly. Up to our chests now and our shoulders. You might even put one hand on your chest and recognize all the work your heart and lungs do every single day. This autonomic system that doesn't require us to remember when to breathe, when our heart needs to beat. You might even say, thank you for all you do every single day. You've been with me from the beginning. Your shoulders, your arms, your hands, countless ways these parts work for us throughout the whole day. And you might even open and close your hands, sending appreciation. Thank you, arms, hands, fingers, shoulders, all of these parts that I might neglect. Back up to the neck. This is often a source of tension and strain, holding up the head, supporting our skull and our brain. Oftentimes lets us know when we're stressed by muscle strain. And now the body as a whole. I'd like you to check in and notice how your body might respond to some appreciation. Is there anything in particular you notice? Perhaps a little bit of room, a little bit more spaciousness, a little bit of a softening or an unclenching. You can call this acceptance and kindness to mind whenever you find you're being harsh or cruel to yourself. Little by little, you will experience an increased sense of freedom and lightness. You can take some more breaths, and then when you're ready to come back into the room, you can open your eyes. How did that go for people? Yeah, it's a little different, isn't it? Oh, you do it. Okay, so for you, it's very good. How do you, if you don't mind me asking, do you have a regular practice that you do this? Meta's always and by meta, she's referring to a very standard practice that originated with in the Buddhist tradition. May I be happy, may I be strong, may I be safe, may I live with ease. There are different versions of that, but that can be incredibly helpful. Isn't it? I mean, it's really quite amazing how many, if we can imagine, people wear pedometers nowadays and they're trying to get up to 10,000 steps. If folks are middle-aged here, how many steps have we taken? And we just don't even think about it. So it's something to acknowledge, and I think that you'll find that that's a very different shift than oh, I want to fit into a size whatever jeans, so I guess I'll drink a Slim Fast this morning. It's a very different kind of approach. Anyone have any trouble with it or find it difficult? Yeah. So, do you think it was because you were feeling relaxed, or was it you were tired and relaxed? Yeah. Right. It's so interesting when I teach basic meditation now, I notice people will say, it's hard for me not to fall asleep. And what that says to me is we're not even used to feeling relaxed and awake. When we're awake, we're usually we're usually wound up. So for the body to relax, what it says is it's time for sleeping. So that's an interesting observation. Okay. Anybody have anything else to say about body appreciation? Okay. Anyone have a hard time with it and feel like this is just not working for me? Mhm. It does not sound ridiculous because I hear that all the time. So I'm going to tell you what somebody said, which I think is really funny and slightly obnoxious. They said, "Oh, you don't have time to meditate. Do you have time to feel like crap?" So I am right with you. I completely understand. And when I meditate, I say, I've got to remember to do this more. It's so helpful. And then the laundry needs to be done. Somebody has to take, the list is on and on. And if you wait until you get to the end of your to-do list, you'll never do it. So what I want to say to people is, I don't know what the averages are now, but most adults watch on average of 2 hours of television a night. And I'm telling you, I am so hooked on Orange is the New Black. I can't pull myself away from it. I'm thinking, I got to get up. This is just, I can't do this. I can't go to bed this late. But I will say that it helps with everything. And there's been a lot of research studies that say people feel much more efficient, effective, and if you're in your world relating to your humans, your people, in a more calm way, that has so much benefit. It's it's worth it. So, yeah, please. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, she is. I have to tell you, I use that very example sometimes. And what she had a newborn baby, and this is a woman who lived in an ashram for 10 years, so they're meditating for like 8 hours straight. It's really hardcore. She would sit on the edge of her bed, and all she could do was say thank you, and she'd fall asleep. That was her meditation. I love the idea. Thank you for bringing that up. I love the idea of the 5-minute meditation. We did the little Navy SEAL deal in the beginning. If you can, even if I'm in the car and I'm just feeling, I'm driving my kid to school or whatever, if you could just breathe in, breathe out, and just feel your body, you are doing something significant. And the thing I haven't mentioned yet, and this blows my mind still, is, and I don't know how many people are familiar with the research, but it actually changes the landscape of your brain. So we have the reptile brain that we all have. It's down here. It's called the amygdala. It's the source of all the fear when you get really tense, fearful, anxious. When you meditate regularly, and I am not talking about for 20 years, I'm talking about there have been effects that we can see on a PET scan for 8 weeks, the amygdala actually starts shrinking, and the part of our brain that is like the higher brain, the brain with the thinking, the judgment, it actually starts getting thicker and bigger. I mean, that, that's intense. That's really, really amazing. So they call this, it's got a very fancy name. It's called self-directed neuroplasticity, which means we can change the landscape and the organism by doing some deep breathing and meditation. To me, and we didn't know that because before the PET scan came along, because of course, we kind of want people to be alive when you're looking at their brain. So now we can see in the brain, and folks might be familiar with Dalai Lama and some of his meditators coming over to the University of Madison, Wisconsin, and looking at the brains of people who have meditated. Their brains look very different, and the part that feels well and safe and secure and good, blood flow is just rushing in there. And who doesn't want to feel like that? So we have a lot of control over that. Okay? So let me just go back to why dieting doesn't work, because I want to kind of bring us back to this challenging the food police. We touched on evolution, and the problem is our body is really great at holding on to weight and gaining weight. It does not like losing weight because of, obviously, we still are sort of in the, we have an old operating system. It's like the caveman, 2.0 or something, because what happens is our bodies are still calibrated towards survival. As you see, we don't really worry about that anymore since we have like 3 major grocery stores in 5 miles. But so it's really hard. Our bodies really resist losing weight. The other thing is that we're all different, and we're all in different stages of life. So why would one diet work for somebody who's 18 and that same diet work for someone who's in their mid-50s? The nutritional needs are different. Hormonally, we're different. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? The other thing, and I've alluded to this before, but I just want to say it again, that diet recommendations change like fashion. What's fashionable now? Are we eating fat? Remember when nuts were like evil, you should never eat nuts, and now you're supposed to eat nuts constantly. Remember when avocados were too fatty, now you're supposed to eat avocado smoothies. I mean, it's like, remember when chocolate, oh no, you should never eat chocolate, and now, oh, you've got to eat dark chocolate because of the antioxidants. If butter was evil, remember when butter was evil? And then we got some nice trans fats, margarine. Now butter's good again because it has omega-3s. So, it's crazy making. Okay? The other thing is the focus on food really makes us a little nutty, because if you imagine, and I said, do not think of a chocolate layer cake. That's the last thing you can think of. Whatever you do, don't think of it. You're never going to have it again. What do you think of? Your body and your mind love to search out and hold on to those kind of images, okay? So that's going to be a rough road. Another piece of this that is research that has been done, and I do not hear enough about it, and I'm quite interested in it, is that when we're stressed, we haven't done our meditation, we're doing our life, everyone's asking for a piece of us, and we eat the most beautiful meal, whatever you want to call it, salmon, kale, a sweet potato, it will not get assimilated in our GI system if we are stressed. Now, let me tell you about a little bit of research. I know that sounds weird. They took 2 groups of people, and they took their blood. Everyone had a blood draw, and they fed them the exact same lunch. They took this one group and said, go, take a nice walk, hang out, come back, we're going to take your blood, have a nice day. The second group, they had them do really frustrating tasks. They stressed them out, they harassed them, they got them irritated, they got them kind of generally uptight. So they both ate the same lunch, and then they took blood. The group that was stressed did not assimilate nearly the amount of minerals, vitamins. In other words, they ate a beautiful lunch and their body could not use it. Okay? So how we eat is almost as important as what we eat. Is that new information for people? I've been doing this for so long, and I read this book, and I'm going to recommend it to you. It's one of those, those movies they call a sleeper. It's good, but it's called The Slow Down Diet by Mark David, and he started his own, he calls himself a nutritional psychologist, which I think he invented. But anyway, he's very, very smart. And I don't know if people are familiar with Kripalu in Western Mass. He's one of the startup guys. So he did this beautiful book, and he said, listen, I'm all about kale. I'm all about the good stuff. But if you're stressed and you're not breathing, your body can't use it. You know why? Because when we're stressed, our digestion shuts down, our immunity shuts down, and if you're trying to get pregnant, too bad. Those are the three systems. Why? Because back to the caveman 2.0 old operating system, our bodies are not interested in immunity, digestion, and fertility if we feel like we're being chased by a leopard. We shut down and we're in mode of survival. It's David, Mark David, M-A-R-C David. If you want to, you can also go on my website, and I have a whole list of, and Tara Brock is one of my favorites. She's on there as well. And she has a lot to say because she's struggled with eating difficulties as well. So I joke what that means, the take-home message is you can eat crappy as long as you meditate. But that's not really true. I do think it's funny, though. So the idea is that when we're eating our meal that's tasty and fresh and lovely, we need to be breathing. We need to be relaxed, because if we're not breathing, no oxygen's coming in the system. And do you all remember about combustion and heat and how your furnace works? You need oxygen to burn and assimilate and work that beautiful salad you just ate through the system. Otherwise, it just sits there. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's nice, yeah. You're living in the right place then. And that's what our bodies often crave when we're stressed, is that highly refined, stuff. And there is, as you probably know, a big controversy. Some people will say that's because it hits the reward center in our brain that cocaine gets metabolized as. There's some pretty good research that... That's right. But you know what I would suggest if I were working with you? I'd say, listen, that's fine. Eat your dark chocolate. Make sure you're really enjoying it. Make sure you're breathing. And I'd throw a little quick meditation in too to see if you bringing down your stress response can help you feel less stressed without having to go to food. Okay? Does that make sense? Because someone else may say, I do the exact same thing with ho-hos or with ring dings, right? So it's, I would just ask yourself, is this because it's helping soothe me? And if it is, let me try some other things. Okay? Mhm. That's fine. That's fine. I'm sorry, did you want to say something? Oxygen? Oh, you mean when you're meditating, it increases the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain for judgment, thinking, considering, waiting and saying, should I actually send that email? Right? And it decreases the amygdala. And the amygdala is that little reptile, that little old part of us that is the fear center that makes us, that's like the place that's getting lit up when we're having a meltdown, or I don't know if anyone's ever had one of those. Say again? You got it. Fight or flight. You got it. Makes it, the actual part of the brain, of the prefrontal cortex, gets thicker and bigger. So that's the good stuff. We want it to get thicker and bigger. The amygdala, which is the part that is really not helpful unless we're living in the middle of the Serengeti, it starts shrinking. We really want. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. So if dieting doesn't work so well, what's a better alternative? Because people want to be healthy. People don't want to be. Exercise is an important component of wellness. Here's a dirty little secret. Exercise does not help us lose weight. This sounds, I know, absurd. I am telling you that what happens is it helps us maintain our stabilize your weight, but it is not. The research is really, really robust. I know. I see your expression. I would ask you. Okay. It burns up calories, but you also, yes, and it makes you hungry. I would ask you to Google that. Just simply say, does exercise help you lose weight? I'll tell you what it does do. It helps everything. It helps it helps depression. It helps stress. It helps Alzheimer's. It helps everything. I'll tell you a funny little thing, and when I'm talking to men, you should see them light up. Stress reduction helps hair loss. They took these rats. They still do a little bit of this. And they put an electrode in the place that gets accessed when we meditate and when we're relaxed. The rats who had that electrode lost less hair than the rats that were just doing a little ratty thing. So it helps everything. It helps feelings of wellness. It helps sexuality. It helps everything. It is not helpful for weight loss. So, as I said, one of my take-home messages is that we are the experts on ourselves. What about the idea of us using our internal barometer, which, by the way, has gotten us pretty far? What do I feel like eating? Crunchy, sour, sweet, soft? What is my body asking for? And here's a big one. What's going to help me feel better after I eat it? I'm all about Oreos. But if you sit down and watch TV and you eat a bunch of Oreos, do you feel good? They taste good. They taste good going down. But how do you even describe that feeling? It's like you just feel sick, right? You got it. You've got it. So you sit with your, I used to do this in college. I'd study, and I'd have one of those like family-size M&M, peanut M&M, and you'd just be popping them in and popping them in, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, they're gone. And then the rest of the day, it's hard to describe. You just feel gross. So what we used as one of our main criterion, I want to feel better. I want to feel more energetic. That's a novel concept, right? Okay. And what about fresh and delicious? Am I eating something that's fresh and delicious, or does it have a SKU code on it and it's from, the hamburger helper aisle? Because the more processed it is, there's some evidence that our bodies don't know what to do with some of these chemicals, and they're just stored as fat. Our body's like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know. It's got a long name. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to store it as fat. Okay? So the latest research over many, many, many decades is you've got to get closer to the source. So you're not going to have a fruit roll-up. You're going to have a piece of fruit. You're not going to have a Quaker maple-flavored pulverized oatmeal packet, which my son loves so much. You're going to have oatmeal. So the idea is just to keep going back. What's the source? What's the source? Did you know that our regional market is the first in New York State? Who didn't know that? That's something to consider. Mm-hmm. That's a big question, yeah. Yeah, right. Well, and also that's that sort of outside of my expertise. What I would say is if meat and carbs don't mix for you, don't eat them. Who cares what somebody else says? You're the expert on yourself. You know what makes you feel good. I lived in California for a while, and as is the, fashion, I decided to be a vegetarian. So I'm telling you, it did not work for me. I loved the idea of it. I thought this is the grooviest thing I could ever think of. But I just didn't feel right. And I found myself eating, I probably didn't do it very well, but I found myself eating a lot of cheese, and it just didn't work out for me. I'm much better with the grill and some chicken or some salmon or some whatever, and I like greens. So that's fortunate. But my point is what works for me is very different than and some of it is what did you grow up with, So it's very different, and I would ask you really to respect those differences and eat what makes you feel energized and better. If I eat McDonald's, which I haven't done in a long time, I don't know how they do it, but I can feel stuffed and full and hungry at the same time. It is the weirdest thing. It's like I feel like I just ate, a quart of styrofoam. I am so bloated and full, but I'm still hungry. How do they do that? I probably don't want to know. That's that. There you go. Okay. That's probably right. The other piece of this is, as Americans, we say, oh, we want to be full, I'm too full, I'm not full. So we talked about the Asian cultures, they don't say full, they say I'm satisfied. Try eating until you're 75% full. Okay, because you have to play with it. You have to practice it, and you have to stop and say, where am I? And if we had more time, I'd give you a hunger scale, and I'd ask you, where are you now? Where are you now? I'd ask you. So we don't have enough time, but in my longer presentations, I give people a hunger scale. We actually eat a meal, and we stop and say, 5 is neutral. I'm getting to be an 8 or a 9 or Thanksgiving full. This is not where I feel good. I want to stop at 7. So that's something to think about. So we talked about more close to nature. The other thing that across the board, unless somebody wants to debate this, we can all eat more vegetables. And so the latest thinking, and I'm just telling you this from what I know, and I try to do it as well, is so you have your 9-inch plate, not your American serving platter that we've gotten used to. You divide it in half, okay? Half is your vegetables, salads, whatever you want. Then you divide the other half in another, so we got a quarter, and then half. Quarter protein, quarter starch, and that rest of that half is all vegetables. Whatever, good stuff. Fruit. What they're recommending, and this again is the simple sort of 2 fruits a day. You need the phytonutrients. You need the micronutrients. And I got to say, any diet plan that says no fruit, I just doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm just talking about sort of a dinner plate. But you can eat 2 fruits. Yeah, you can do it with breakfast or lunch or whatever. I'm just kind of giving you the dinner format. Oh, I don't. That's not my. I want to tell you something that I just found out. Is I didn't know this, but people are throwing raw kale into their smoothies, raw spinach. Apparently, there's an acid in those greens that can be very upsetting to people's stomachs. So some people are saying you really should steam it a little bit before you throw it in your smoothie. That's just something to think about. Okay, so we want a little bit of protein with every meal, and this one I really want to underline for you. Don't let yourself get too hungry, because what happens every single time? We call it rebound eating, right? And so we're like, oh, I'm being so good. All I had was Special K and skim milk, and then lunch I had a salad with a boiled chicken breast, and then I go home and I eat a pound of cheddar cheese. And then I say to myself, what's wrong with me? I have no willpower. And then I beat on myself, I hate myself and all that. We laugh. But I see a lot of people who come in my office and say, I don't understand. I have no willpower. And I say, take me through your day. Well, guess what? You're starving. So we call that rebound eating. If you don't eat enough and then your friends order pizza, you're just like, give me one of those whole pizzas because I'm going to eat it myself, right? And get out of my way because I'm starving. All right, so we want to focus on health, not weight loss. Your weight will take care of itself. Some moderate, nice activity. You don't have to be doing aerobics and spinning and all of that unless you really love it. Practice slowing down, appreciating, tasting, savoring your food. And then, let's see. Instead of asking yourself how much weight I can lose, I want you to think about this question. How can I take the best care of my body and my mind today? That's a whole different kind of question. And I would even add in, how can I take loving care of my body and my mind today? that will not lead you to a slim fast drink, I guarantee you. Okay? Does that make sense? So we have a couple minutes left. I want to leave a little bit of time for a couple things, but I do want to let you know that I am running a small group on, it's a mindful eating group. It's a 4-week group. It's going to be held at Rockefeller Church. I don't know if people know where that is, off of Nottingham and Tecumseh. And it's looking at mindful eating of sweets. It really is just a mindful eating class. So if people are interested in that, feel free to grab a flyer. And then I would also like you to just give me a little bit of feedback. But I want to ask you if there are any questions or anything that, any comments or